Okay, guys, welcome. So we will be starting our PowerPoint report training with Jonathan Gullery today. I want to thank Jonathan for taking out some time to be able to share about this. He's been working in media and the department for quite some time. He can introduce himself with more details, but basically I've heard him present before. He's an expert in the area of preparing effective and exciting PowerPoints. So I wanted him to be able to share with our team some tips on how to do that so that you guys can be better at your presentations and particularly in preparing for the weekly report that I give to Dr. Kim and the executive team. So with that said, this is a recorded meeting, so keep that in mind. I'd like to invite Jonathan to share with us. Let's welcome him.
Hey guys, I want to talk about, let's see where it is. Okay, 1 second. I will talk about, click on the next slide. Here we go. 10 easy steps that you can do to make your presentations more like TED Talks presentations. Okay, so have you all seen stuff on TED Talks?
Yes.
And you like that stuff, right? It's always kind of edgy and cool and innovative. So what almost nobody knows, this lady Nancy Duarte, who I trained with in California, is contracted, her company Duarte.com is contracted by TED Talks to take the terrible, awful PowerPoints that you see every single day, which is what every person comes to TED Talks with, and turn them into something great and palatable and watchable. So actually, even TED Talk starts with the same terrible stuff. Okay? So basically, there's 3 sections in this presentation. It's the design process, the preparation process, and the delivery process. So let's just start off talking about design. You might think that you're not a great designer, but actually you already know pretty much, you know a great deal about design because you know what doesn't work, right? You know when you're really not in love with the presentation, when it's too complicated, when there's stuff going on everywhere, right? Everybody knows that kind of presentation, and we've all made them, right? One of the ways we actually feel about PowerPoint and presenting is you will often hear people like Naokimi will say something like, well, tomorrow morning I have to give a presentation, right? How often do you hear someone say, I get to give a presentation? You don't hear, but actually the reality is that you get to give a presentation. You're giving something to people. It's not just like this chore that you have to, muddle your way through. So let's talk about keeping design simple. Question, if you were tasked with giving a presentation about jazz, okay? You go online, you Google like jazz images, okay? You come up with this thing. So this is pretty cool, but which is simpler? This illustration or the previous one? Let me go back here. This one or that one? Which one? That one.
That one.
Right. It's just really simple. It's really clean. It says everything that you need. I like in presentations to use interesting contrasts, like here. So you got Leonardo da Vinci, and you're putting him on a slide with some cool-looking guy like this hot red and this trumpet. It's kind of it's a nice sort of contrasty kind of image. At headquarters where I work in the media department, we often get people come in and they have slides like this, okay? So we're so used to seeing this stuff that we don't even register like this actually sucks, okay? It's like if you go to give this to someone who's never seen our 4-position foundation stuff, it's just like, what do you look at? What on earth do you do with that slide? Where do you look first? You don't even know. Right? So what tends to happen in most of these kind of presentations is that people just zone out, right? They zone out. Or this is what we did with that slide. and media department, okay? Because basically this slide is talking about, you know, everything went wrong. Okay, so that's it. People keep secrets. We did that kind of thing with these slides. So this is extremely easy to use and really useful because all the slide is doing is supporting what you're talking about. That's the only purpose of a slide in a presentation, is to illustrate what you are talking about. So we got all sort of hung up with like, well, the slide has to be this, it has to be that, you know, but actually, forget it. Okay, next point, restraint. We need to practice a little restraint. So what does this mean? There is a thing in slide design, if you've done like psychology or you've done like communications or media in school, there's a thing called cognitive load theory. Okay, so what does this mean? It sounds really complicated, but basically it means you can only take in so much at any one time. Okay. Have any of you ever, you've been like at your computer, you're doing something, you know, whatever, you're on your computer, you get up to go in the kitchen or go in the other room to do something, and by the time you got there, you forgot what you were doing. Has that ever happened? Yeah, so I used to think this was like an age thing, because now I'm a little bit older than you are. But actually, when I ask people in the office, does this ever happen to you? They all go like this, yeah. Because the reality is you can only hold, and different psychologists say different things, but you can hold somewhere between 3 to 7 things in your active memory at any one time. That's it. So that's why you just forget stuff like that. It's actually pretty simple. Yeah. You can only hold so much at any one time. That's what overload looks like. I was at a workshop in Las Vegas, and, you know, this is Reverend Kachi, and, you know, God bless him, he's actually a really good presenter. I have seen really good presenters use like crimes for slides, and this is basically like a huge crime, because this is stuff like everywhere. So if I'm talking to you, as I'm talking, you're looking at this line down the bottom that says God's purpose of the providence of restoration. You're looking at all this other stuff, okay? And while I'm talking, you are thinking, oh my God, how long is he going to spend on this slide? He's going to be about 10 minutes on this slide. I've already looked at everything. The reality is you can't actually read and listen at the same time, despite what people may say. This slide is from the US military. Yeah. Like really, like what? You know, what were they thinking? And they paid, I'm not going to say the word, but they paid a lot of money for this stuff, okay? Yeah, unbelievable. So it's actually not your fault that you behave badly when you use PowerPoint. It's not really your fault. You opened you know, you used it in grade school, right? Right? Jennifer, I guess Jennifer used it. You used it in grade school. You know, Naria, you probably used it in middle school. And you were told you have to have this many bullet points and this many, you know, whatever. So you open PowerPoint, this is what it looks like. Stupid. You know, why do you have to put all these bullet points anywhere? The whole point of software is to enhance what you're talking about, not to take over. So you decide what you want. You don't want any bullet points, don't use them. Again, we were tasked at headquarters to redo these slides. So this was a real slide. People are using this. So when I open this, I have no idea what I should look at first. It's all the same size, pretty much, right? So, and not only that, we're often told, well, we don't want you to change anything. Don't change anything, just make it look better. Okay, this is a common one. So what we did with this one, we did this with it. Okay, so they're like, oh my God, you took away all our stuff. I said, no, no, all your stuff is still here. Okay, but let me ask you, why, let's go back here. Why would you want to have all this text on the screen if you're only talking about Adam forsook God on the first line? Why do you want all that other stuff? It's just noise. It's just there for nothing. So when we do this kind of stuff, we take this, here's what you're talking about. Now let's just grade that out a little bit. It's not important anymore. Now we're going to talk about the next point. Now we're going to talk about that point. So we actually took this whole thing. We didn't change anything. We just made it look a heck of a lot better and made it easy for people to be able to digest. There was a little thing where I talk about fonts, and you already know this. Choose your fonts carefully. Naria will tell you, choose those fonts really carefully. Fonts look different at different sizes. Things stand out more, okay? I find, even though I don't like Arial at all, if you ever had the experience, you did this whole presentation, it's all perfect, you had all these great fonts, you put it on a jump drive, you went to the conference, you stuck it into somebody else's computer, and all the fonts have gone to hell, right? Stuff wraps to the second line, stuff doesn't fit anymore, stuff is just a big mess, okay? That's because it's actually a Microsoft Office problem, but basically stick with Arial because everybody has Arial on every computer. I like to tell people to, can anybody read that? Okay, so this is really important. Design for the last row. How many presentations have you been at where people have got like microscopic dots on the screen because they thought they could? Okay, if it's less than 24 point, don't put it on your slide. When I went to Duarte and trained, they wouldn't let us near a computer at all. They gave us a stack of Post-it notes, like the ones about like that size, you know, like the square ones, and Sharpies. And they said, if you can write a word with this Sharpie on this Post-it note, you can put it on your slide. It's a good rule. Here's the other rule. With there's a couple of ways to determine how big should your font be for that last row. If you've got laptops, right? Naokimi, what size is your screen? 12, 11 inch, 15 inch?
Maybe 12, 13.
12 or 13. Okay, so tonight, get in your living room, put some type on your laptop, walk back 12 or 13 feet. If you can read it, then that's okay. If you can't read it from 12 or 13, it's too small for your presentation. The other rule that you can try, you can look at the oldest person in the room, guesstimate how old they are. You can divide that by 2. That's the smallest font that you can use. Let's talk about imagery. Let's talk about pictures and what you put on your screen, okay? This is really important. You know, whether you're doing your PowerPoint or your presentation for the Tuesday morning meeting, or whether you're doing it at TED Talks or like a motivational kind of seminar, every single picture tells a story, and a story is worth 1,000
words.
Yeah. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Yeah. So this is a slide developed for U.S. military, U.S. Army. They're talking about Afghanistan, and I can guarantee you that anybody who saw that would not remember anything about 5 minutes later. So what do you do with this kind of stuff? Okay, I unpacked a couple of points from that slide, and here's what you would normally see in a PowerPoint. You'd see like Afghanistan, life expectancy, blah, 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 okay? It's a couple of bullet points. And whoever would just whack them all on the screen at the same time and rattle on for 5 minutes about the first one before they get to the last one that you already finished about 10 minutes ago, right? So I would suggest that no matter where you are presenting, you are going to find an image that has some emotional content, and you can do this with it. Okay? So what works better? Are you going to remember that? I'm guessing that you actually will probably remember that, or this, because it has an emotional impact, right? That's why you remember the stuff, because it actually moves you. You understand it, like, you know, and your mind understands it, your head understands it, but there's no connection with what's going on in your heart. But when you see an image like this, there is actually a artistic kind of connection to it. One thing that I like to caution against, here's again, we're talking about bullfighting. So your presentation's about bullfighting. So you find some cheesy low-res image online, you use that in the background, doesn't work that well, whack all your bullet points on it. What I really caution against using in PowerPoint is motion. Sometimes you see people present and their words come flying in from here and then they bounce like this, and then they stop, and then the next bit comes in and sort of sparkles, and like, for what? And just don't do it. If you ever watch TV, you watch the news, and you know how people photobomb interviews, right? The interviewer's there in the street, and there's kids in the background going like this, that's all you look at. So a very tiny amount of motion goes a huge way in presentation. I don't like it. But that being said, there might be some times when you want to use it. So say you're doing a presentation about bullfighting, I think this is actually pretty powerful. Right? So this is actually 2 slides, and I've used the push control to push them from side to side. But it actually looks like one long continuous thing. So you might want to use it, maybe, but just be really, really careful. Don't use it too much. Okay? Let's move along to the preparation part of our talk. You know what it's like when you, Naokimi, you go to the Tuesday meeting and Dr. Kim's like, oh, I got to go. Naokimi, walk with me to the elevator and tell me what you want to say. Okay, so suddenly what you spent about an hour working on the night before is like compacted into the elevator speech. So think, what is it you want to communicate with this PowerPoint, with this presentation? Is it a whole long thing? What's your takeaway for the audience? What do you want them to know? If there's just one thing, what is it going to be? So planning is extremely important in presentation design. So even though I have given this presentation, I don't know how many times, I spent about 3 hours on it on Sunday night, thinking, how am I going to tailor this a little bit for Naokimi's audience? What comes out, what is not applicable? So I took a lot of stuff out, I put some other things in. But basically at Duarte in California, before they let us anywhere near a computer, we spent a couple of days just planning. So here's a presentation, okay? The blue line is my main points. The yellow stickies, you see how big these stickies are, right? They're not big. The yellow stickies are the things that support those points. And the pink stickies are the emotional moments that happen that push the presentation forward. So guys, it's really like a movie script. There's emotional impact in this thing, and it's completely designed. It's not left to chance. So I know where I'm going to put those pictures of the kids in Afghanistan. And here's the other thing you do. Practice it, revise it, practice it, revise it, practice it, revise it. Have you ever given a presentation and you're going to like, okay, now I'm going to practice. So you sort of speak it aloud in your head. You ever done that? But you never actually get through it because you want to change something. Everything, all the time, you're thinking, I want to change it. How many times have you put the computer somewhere else, used the clicker, and actually spoken it aloud to the TV or spoken it aloud to the dog or whatever? Speaking it aloud is completely different. At headquarters where I work, Naria sees this kind of stuff all the time. Jennifer, at headquarters, everything we do, we plan it, we throw it on the wall, we look at it, we refine it, we change it. People come by and say, that really sucks, guys. It's terrible. You got to change that. We change it. It's absolutely endless. And that's the same thing that you need to do with presentations. Keep a notebook. Has everybody got a notebook? Yes? Great. Write in your notebook. My mom never used PowerPoint. She never used a computer. She had notebook after notebook after notebook. She wrote all kinds of stuff in these notebooks with random thoughts about whatever. She gave me this one before she passed away. And I actually use it. There's really cool stuff in this notebook that she actually wrote down. I'm like, wow, this is great. Get off the grid. What does this mean? Getting off the grid means going somewhere like this, right? These kids are planning their presentation, right? So if you can't write it in the sand with a stick, don't put it on your slide. Now this one's really tough. So we're getting through here, number 7. This is a rough one. You got to practice. What do you mean? I got to practice. Yes, you have to practice. The best of the best practices and practices. Right? You got to practice. Who knows the answer to this? You know that person's in the back going like this, right? Have you been there? They're like, okay, Naria, telling you, time to stop. There she is. Okay, Naria, look, time. Okay. Why does this happen so much? What do you think? Any ideas?
They didn't practice enough or
What's
fine
that?
tune. They didn't practice or fine tune it enough.
Yeah, you got it. They didn't practice at all. Or maybe they did it in the car on the way to the meeting. Yeah, wrote the presentation. Not only did they not practice, but they didn't even do it this many times. Not once. Not once. Okay? That's why it happens. You guys will never do this, I know. Okay, let's talk about your delivery. You know, when I was at IPAC, I gave this presentation. This was not the people in the room, don't worry. That was before I started, but I need to take a photo. So where's my podium? Do I have one? No. Where's the computer? You can sort of see it, but not really. So there's the computer. There's my presenter notes, okay, on my screen. So I know exactly what I want to say if I need it. I don't like a podium. I don't like to put a wall between me and the audience. And I especially don't like a podium when it's about this high. And then there's a computer on top of it like this, right? And you're sort of like peeking out over the top of your computer. Like, no. If you're going to do that, just use notes. I use the screen. Now, this was in Korea. And this guy, you know, honestly, this guy is really he's just a nice guy. But his presentation, I feel like, do you see the people? Look at what are the people doing? Pretty much. Is anybody even looking at him?
They're praying, I think.
Praying, yeah, there was silent prayer, let me tell you. Except the media team, who were wickedly messaging each other back and forth with like photos of people sleeping. And we were killing ourselves laughing, like trying to control ourselves. But actually, this guy, I kid you not, his presentation was all in the notes. It was a book. He read, and I don't even know if, I think it was either 45 minutes or an hour and a quarter. And all he did was read from the book. And he never looked up once. Not once. So yeah, it's a bad presentation. So if you're going to do that kind of thing, just give people the notes and send them home. Like, why torture people, you know? I don't know. So do not do that. Do not read your slides. Don't turn your back to the audience and read your slides. People are actually able to read. Okay? You should not turn your back to your audience at all. You should always be looking forward to your audience. If you need your notes, put them on a piece of paper like I had to do today, or put them on your screen and use presenter view. You can Google that if you don't know how to use it. All right, has everybody got their, has everybody got mics on? Is there anybody muted or not?
Everyone's muted unless they're speaking.
Okay. So, all right, so we'll do this, we're gonna do a little exercise here, okay? I want you guys to do a little work, because enough of me talking. Right, where's my, All right, enough of me talking. I want to do this little exercise with you. I want to show you how you can get rid of all the text on your screen. Okay? This is a valuable exercise. So here's standard grade school presentation. Okay? How are we going to do this? I want to know, like, if we look at the first line, put training wheels on the bike. What is the key point of that sentence? Training wheels. Okay, Jennifer's got it. I could lip read. Training wheels. Okay. Second sentence, scenario. What's the key point? What do you think?
Raise the training wheels.
You raise the training wheels. Well, yeah, it could be. You could. I mean, you could do either way. Yeah.
Wobble.
Yeah. I mean, it could be either. The point is that you only need a couple of words. Okay. Next one is what? Where?
Protect.
Protect. Well, I'm going to choose the. I mean, this is my presentation, so I can choose what I want. Besides that, so, but you get the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get the point. So, grass. Enjoy your bike wherever you need to go. All right. So if you do this, go through your bullet points. You don't need sentences for bullet points. It's just a whole waste of time. You don't want people to read them all anyway. You just need those key points. So let's just put that on the screen. Okay, that's all you need. Now, if you're presenting, you've got way enough on your screen for you to know what you're going to say, right? You know you're going to say you need to put training wheels on your kid's bike. And you're going to get, you're going to go here and there. You're going to wobble a little bit. Once you take them off, it's going to be, like that. So that's all you need on your screen. Now, if you want to get really brave and you want to go to like, the next level up of PowerPoint presenting, all you need is that slide. Because that is all your audience needs to know. This brings back every emotional memory of anybody teaching a little kid how to ride a bike, or you might even remember learning to ride yourself. But that's actually all you need. If you want to go back and you want to use those bullet points, that's fine. Use them. You might find an image you can move that bike slightly to the side so you've got space on one side to put your text. But that's about all that you need. Now, be really careful with Microsoft PowerPoint or Keynote templates and backgrounds like that. Like, why would I use that? But now that I've shown you this, you're going to be watching. You'll see other people do this. Just use a background for no reason whatsoever. Would you ever see a movie like this? No. All this white space, like, what is that? Don't even use it. Don't think about it. And especially, don't use super cheesy Microsoft Word clip art. Just awful. Awful, awful. Everything about it is awful. Or use a really good image and then whack it on your awful, cheesy background with lots of white space. It's just a complete waste of digital asset. Always fill your screen. Okay? I've got a little bit of technical stuff now. Kimi, how are we doing for time?
We're at 2:31, so
That's about it then, right?
yeah.
All right, we're going to skip the technical stuff. I'm going to close it up. And forgive me because I'm going to, and actually that's one thing I suggest that you never apologize in a PowerPoint, okay? Just never apologize. If you make a mistake, if you screw up, just keep on going. Don't worry about it. Don't apologize like that. I'm sorry I do have all those slides there. But, all right, black screen. I want to introduce this concept to you. Black screen, hit the B key, B for black. On your computer when you're presenting and your whole screen goes black. Or you can hit W if you want white. So what happens when you do that? When you do that, the screen is black, everybody turns and they look at you. So if you want to make some really important point, you want to hammer something home, hit that B key. Really, really valuable. There's your white key. Last point I want to make is connect with your audience like this. Okay, it's TED Talks. Where's his podium? Not there. Where's his notes? Not there. Actually, at the bottom of the stage at TED Talks, they do have big monitors so everybody can see all their notes. But this guy's got the audience eating out of the palm of his hand. He's really connecting well with the audience, like this guy. I was at IPAC. You know Mr. Sudo? You know him. Yeah, Mr. Sudo. He had these GPA kids and some younger kids. And he was telling them these stories, and he must have gone on for at least an hour. They were completely wrapped. They were just absolutely absorbed in everything that he was saying. Like, this guy's Yoda, right? He looks like Yoda already. He
About the same height as Yoda.
Yeah, totally. But he understood completely how to connect with his audience. And that's all a PowerPoint is about. This presentation is just about connecting with the audience. Okay? So here's my presentation.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate all the good tips on presentations. I want to open up to Q&A. Any questions and or comments for Jonathan about presenting?
How do you feel about Google Slides versus like downloaded PowerPoint slides?
I hate them.
You don't like Google Slides?
Yeah. However, we use Google Slides all the time in the office.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it's more limited than PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a means of communication and presentation in the business world, so you have to use it. Of course, you can always download them as PowerPoint, right? And then you can play with stuff and do things. There is actually, and I'm sorry, I should have given you this. Here's 3 resources that you can use. Okay. And I'm sorry, did I answer your question on that one, or?
I think so.
Yeah, you use what you have to use, but it's only there to support you. It's only there to support your message. So you don't have to. You can find ways to break the rules. Okay, there's a guy in Japan who he started a whole new school of presentation design where there's only one word on the screen ever. Every screen is just one word, and it's enormous. It fills the whole screen, and he's super popular. This old guy. These 3 resources here, Presentation Zen is about presentation design and good practice. It's got incredible resources on there. There's a link to Pixar studios who have a whole free training, like huge amount of training online for nothing. Dwightada.com in California, they have really good resources, really good slide practice. And Pixabay is good for images. Okay, so if you need good images that don't look cheesy, don't look like everybody else's, go to Pixabay. There's a ton of different good image places, but Pixabay is free. Any other questions?
Any other questions, comments for Jonathan?
I feel like we need to like actually show. It's hard to explain, but if we showed you some slides, I feel like we would get better input. But like when we present things for the monthly meetings or for Tuesday meetings, when we combine like a photo and text together, but like the photo doesn't fill the screen completely, is that acceptable?
Well, I don't think it's preferable. I like a big image that fills the screen that's high resolution. If you have a photo that doesn't fill the screen, that's not nearly as bad as 3 photos on one screen. You know, or 2 photos on one screen. Like, why? Why? Why would you know? You would go to the movies. You're never going to see like 2 images on one. But sometimes you see a split screen. But that's extremely intentional. So I don't think that's necessarily disturbing, as long as it's supporting what you're saying. Okay? And especially if you're like Naria, if you're if you're speaking at the monthly meeting and you're talking about the award ceremony for the tournament, okay? So you have a nice photo on the screen of the award ceremony. And then you start talking about something else, some upcoming thing this summer or, whatever. But you leave that slide on the screen, right? So you see people do this all the time. They got an image on the screen that supports something that they were talking about 5 minutes ago. So if you don't have another image, hit the B key and get rid of it because you're done talking about that. So, you need to, your images and text and what you're saying need to be concurrent. But no, I'm not really disturbed greatly by one image on the screen.
Only if there's multiple images.
Well, that disturbs me. Just don't know. I hate that. Like, why? Why? It proves that we did 4 conferences. Like, big deal. We know we did conferences. Yeah. Or Naokimi will come up and then he's talking about, well, we did this in California and Massachusetts and Chicago and blah blah blah. And there's all these little pictures of like a conference, like people sitting in front of a camera, like with a banner. Yeah.
Yes, if you want direct feedback, you can look at Jonathan when you're presenting and see him squirm in his seat as everyone presents.
Yeah.
Or maybe he avoids those meetings. Okay, well, appreciate the time and the feedback. I think that's good, Jonathan. I'm gonna talk with the team a little bit more about the weekly report format. So
Good.
You're free to go. And just one more time, want to thank you for sharing all your insights and presentations. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Okay, I just want to take 5 more minutes. Sorry, I know that I did say it was going to be 30 minutes, but just 5 more minutes. I want to kind of share a few additional points about what I'm expecting in terms of your reports. This is kind of important because every week I have a chance to present on Tuesday to the executive team, including Dr. Kim. And I want everyone to be able to send me slides about your work on Monday so that I have a kind of a buffet of options to choose from and that I can easily put it together and present it to represent you guys on Tuesday morning. Does that make sense? So I just want to show you like what I do like and what I don't like, and I'll try to explain quickly the difference between the two, okay? So this morning, for example, let me share my screen. Okay, so typically I have a report every week, so Family Fed meeting reports, and as you can see, for every week I present something. This was the one I presented this morning. Okay, so I didn't have time for all the to put it as, how do I say it? Anyway, I'll just go through what I like. Okay, this is an example that is good. What I like about it is that it's mainly an image. It fills the whole screen, and it's just one blurb at the top or bottom that clearly like explains what this is. So that's good. This, however, is not so good for me because, again, it kind of violates several rules on PowerPoint presentations. One is that there's just way too much words, and it's forcing me to have to read the whole thing. Again, means I have to turn my back, and it's really hard. So better would be if there's an image of all this, try to get like one sentence or one quote that's the most like impactful in that whole paragraph. And then you would have an image of the person let's say. Ideally, it would be that just that person, and then you might have a statement or a quote next to it. And then in the speaker notes, all of this text can go in the speaker notes. So in the speaker notes, I can actually read through the speaker notes to get the whole picture, but what I'm presenting in the slideshow is just one quote and an image of the person who's speaking. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, and that saves a lot of time for me because again, I'm kind of asking you guys to put it on Monday. I basically have like 30 minutes on Tuesday morning to put it together. It's a lot better if it's already formatted in a way that I can just copy and paste into the report. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Okay, another one. We just heard from Jonathan. 2 images on one slide doesn't work, primarily because there's a lot of white space, and also there's 2 different things going on with different. The better thing, it seems like you're saving time and space, but it's actually better to have 2 full images back to back on 2 different slides, and then a different caption on each that kind of captures the essence of that moment. Like, for example, this one looks like fishing rods, right? So, and this is more like in the dining hall of East Garden, you know, something like that. I think there's a name for this room. So instead of 2 days pilgrimage, East Garden, Belvedere, it could say something like in the personal dining room of, you know, the name of the room in East Garden. Could be the caption on this picture. The second one could be like, you know, whatever, it's like holding the fishing rods that Chu Father used, or whatever the significance of that image shows, you would use that as a caption. Make sense?
Yep.
Again, it takes a little bit more time on your side. I know you guys are all busy, but again, I literally have like 3 minutes to present 6 departments. 3 to 5 minutes. So I need you guys to prepare it so that it's very easy to share. So again, in this case, having 3 different slides, I can quickly, you know, show the images and make one statement for each image. And if you already have that statement in a caption, or if you don't have time, you can just put it in the speaker notes, and I can just read off the speaker notes so that I know what's it. But the best is if you have a caption already, so that the audience can basically get the idea just by looking at the image and the caption. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Also, another example here. So best is, again, number 1 rule is the image should fill the whole screen. And then again, it takes a little bit of time, but make it so that the text is within the image. Then the image is kind of subject, and then you get more of the image, and you have the text within the image. Now the exception to that is like a slide over here where you fit the image underneath and you put the text on top. That could also work as well. But you see how there's a lot of white space on this one, on the left and right, and the image is small. You can barely see Tasna. So it's a lot better if there's a full image and there's just a caption on the top or bottom. Okay?
Yep.
All right. This is again, it's hard to find images for everything. But for example, over here, maybe an image of the New York hotel or the conference room, or I don't know, something like that. This is better, but again, filling the whole screen with this screenshot and then a caption on the bottom could work as well. This was not bad. I mean, it was nice to see all the different faces. So I don't know what we could do better about this one, unless we do like a slide for each person, but that's a little bit much. So I think this was good for now. Okay, this is usually the slide I use at the end of each of my presentations. All right, so I hope that was kind of clear. Any questions or comments on this?
So you'd like to have it Monday, let's say Monday afternoon or something?
Anytime Monday night is fine. Again, I usually look at all your slides that you shared with me on Tuesday morning. So Monday night is fine. It's just that if you do have it in before our check-in time on Monday, then we can actually talk about it together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's Monday, anytime should be fine.
Okay.
Okay, and the other thing, quick note, we had it set up. I don't know if everyone has this system yet, but in my drive, you share a report with me, and for example, this is the one, 2018 weekly updates from GPA. So this is shared with me, and I want each of the departments to share a PowerPoint slide, and all you need to do is update your slides every week with the most recent slides on the top. So Roland has been doing this in that way. He would have the most recent slides on the top, and then the previous week would be like that underneath, and so on. And so there's a whole record of reports that are in this sharing. And that works for me because then I can look at the top few slides and basically copy and paste. So Naria, I know you do it in sequential order with the most recent are the bottom. I want you to, keep it the most recent ones at the top. And you can differentiate it by just putting a slide breaker with the date. So we know that, weekly report for this date. So I can know which section is the newest ones. Does that make sense? And the final point is it's important for you guys to keep this because this is also a record of all the work you've done. And I think that whenever, I'm in so many situations where all of a sudden I need to prepare a presentation tomorrow or the next day or in 10 minutes. But if I have this as these slides available at any time, I could actually refer to them and share with anybody. So it's really valuable for you guys to have as well, that you have kind of a history of all the work you've done, and it's already formatted in a way that's easy to share with people. Okay. And then, for example, when I'm flying to Korea and I have to make an annual report for youth activities in America, having all of these reports, again, makes it easier, and especially if I don't have to format each slide to make it look good. Okay. I'm also thinking of sharing a folder with all of you guys, and that way you guys can also see everyone else's reports. I think that might be also good. Just because you can also start to see what's going on, and or maybe I can share the report that I share so that you also see what's been shared on a regular basis. So maybe something to think about as well. All right. Any other questions, comments about reporting?
It's good to make a backup in case you lose everything.
Yes, Roland, good point. I think either on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis, it's good to have like a copy the slide and keep it as a backup in case it gets deleted or it disappears. So it's good to always have that. Also, keep in mind the target audience. The primary target audience for the Tuesday report is Dr. Kim. And the secondary audience is all the other executives that are attending the meeting. These include sub-regional leaders. It includes the media department, the Blessed Family department, evangelical department, education department heads. But basically, it's all the top directors for each department at headquarters. So that's the secondary audience. But the primary audience is Dr. Kim. It's basically a chance to offer up what we've been doing, and he's looking for inspiration and stories that he can share with True Mother. Okay. All right, I think we're good. Well, anyway, that's a wrap. So thank you guys for joining this, and I'm looking forward to receiving your updated PowerPoint reports.
Thanks, Naokimi.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day, guys. We'll see you
Bye.
later.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.